This is MC Fireside Chats, a weekly show devoted to the outdoor hospitality industry, hosted by Brian Searl and Cara Csizmadia. You'll hear from special guests that focus on topics to help your business succeed, all backed by Modern Campground, the most innovative news source in the industry.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of MC Fireside Chats. My name is Brian Searl with Insider Perks, here as always with Cara Csizmadia from the Canadian Camping and RV Council and Mr. Darryle Busa, the Editor-in-Chief of Modern Campground. Super excited to have a show for you today talking about the upcoming fall conferences. So we've got a couple guests here that we're going to introduce in a moment. Kind of disorganized this morning from my standpoint. Hopefully everybody else is prepared. I just got back from vacation, so I'm wearing my headset. I don't even have my nice mic on. I've got a sweatshirt on because it's not cold in Canada. I'm just talking about fall conferences, so I was trying to theme myself and wear a costume. Okay. So that's the story I'm going with. I'm sticking to it. But glad to have you all here watching the show. If you're watching us on any of the Facebook pages, please drop a comment if you have a question for Joss, Lori, Joe, or anything else related to fall conferences, and we'll get that on the show. Talk about it with you. And as a reminder, we're available as a podcast on MC Fireside Chats later on if you would like to watch the show too. So we're going to go around the room and just introduce ourselves. I think everybody knows most of our guests here, but Mr. Joss Penny, do you want to start?
Yeah, Joss Penny, Executive Director of the BC Lodging and Campgrounds Association here in beautiful British Columbia.
Hi, I'm Lori Severson, and I'm with Severson and Associates.
That is a very creative name, Lori. I just wanted to say.
Isn't it? Oh, yes.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Took a long 25 years to get it figured out.
Tell us the story later of how you came up with that. I want to know.
Right.
Joe, go ahead. Sorry.
Joe Dumig with At My Community. Brian invited me here because as we've met on the circuit, Brian and I going to pretty much every show that happens in the U.S. and a few in Canada as well.
Nice.
All right.
Beautiful lake in your background, by the way, Joe.
Yeah, I'm at one of our customers' parks, Hearthside Grove Lake Erie in Geneva on the Lake, Ohio. And it's a motor coach, so it's all motor coach facility. So it's all pull-ins. A bunch of them face these little ponds. They have them with fountains all over the property. And we got kind of hooked up with a really nice site with its own fire pit, 2 different patios, one with the table and chairs, and one with a fire pit. It's a really nice place.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it looks like a nice blue, beautiful lake in the background too. Like so
it's been good so far. We've only been here one day, and the kids are all out on a golf cart ride and having a great time.
Right on.
Right on.
Nice. Well, I'm super excited to jump into fall conferences. Like, we got a lot going on and a lot different variations that we're going to talk about today. I know Mr. Darryl's doing some research on some other conferences we'll cover once we talk about Lori and Joss's too, and Joe's perspective from a vendor who's attending both of these. But it's a totally different landscape now, right? We've got Joss's conference, who we had hoped was going to be hybrid. Event staff at the hotel kind of prevented that. But it's going to be a virtual show for Joss, and then Lori's got an in-person show coming up in December here, first time ever for her show. We're going to dive into those details, and it's just interesting how we've got both virtual, in person, and I think that we're going to move toward more of a hybrid for some of these shows in the future too. Just different perspective, just different experiences, and all kinds of different advantages to both sets of things. So where do we want to start, Cara?
Well, I would love to hear about, well, I don't know if you want to touch on this, but why the transition for BC's conference from the in-person plan to virtual, and kind of how that transition has worked out, and specifics to the Ideas Forum, which I'm excited to attend. Can't wait.
Thanks, Cara. I think we can go back to the fact that last year was a gap year, 2020, with COVID, and most of the shows and most of the face-to-face all went online. We had hoped this year, we carried over our hotel, which was in Kelowna. We'd hoped to have our Ideas Forum in person. in 2021, in October 19th to the 21st. But as you probably found out, this little Delta variant has decided that it's going to be very virulent, and it has affected those people largely who are unvaccinated, and led to the situation whereby we weren't open in time to be able to have the conference in Kelowna. So that really sort of transpired way back in sort of late July, mid-August, when it started to surge. And so we made the decision at that point in time to go 100% virtual, because we had in our mind that we were going to have 50% on the ground and 50% virtual. And the virtual ability allows us to be able to bring in speakers from around North America that we could never afford to parachute into British Columbia.
Right.
So go ahead, Cara, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I admire the ability to be so adaptable.
Right.
I know that it's such a big undertaking, the virtual portion. So to start that kind of later in the game is probably a lot on your plate. So good on you for making the shift.
Happy to make the shift. I mean,
Sure.
in reality, it gives us the opportunity to record everything and to develop a learning center that we ordinarily would never have done at some of our conferences. I mean, that's the advantage we're going to get. And then we'll be able to relay those materials out for those exhibitors that are there as well. They'll be able to be promoted throughout the year, and people will have a voice and be able to see that voice regularly throughout the year. And that's what we're sort of hoping, that eventually it becomes our learning center. So over time, we'll have the hybrid event, and everything will be recorded. And so we'll end up with a much stronger output from an event that we've been organizing for many, many years.
Yeah.
But really, we've been wasting the knowledge that's sitting there, because it's only consumed by those people that are present.
Exactly. Yeah.
I want to dive more into your conference, Joss, and I'm so sorry I had a delay, Cara. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I want to dive more into your conference, Joss. But Lori, I'm curious, do you have a hybrid component to yours? And we'll talk more about yours too. But
Sure. At this point, we do not. But you know, that definitely may be an option. Definitely, Joss makes some awesome points, and that's really true. It gives you such a great opportunity to be able to share other things with other people.
Yeah.
Joe, what do you think from a vendor perspective? Like, obviously, you've attended virtual from CCRVC before that we had, and some of the ARVCs and KOAs and all those kinds of things. You've obviously attended in person. We all have. What do you think from a vendor perspective? How could a hybrid event work for a vendor?
Well, so the majority of virtual events for us did not work terribly good. CCRVC was great. There was a lot of interaction with the with attendees, and so that one was really well put together. But most of the other ones, there was not that much interaction between the vendors and the attendees, and so I think hybrids, it's even going to be harder. I think from a supplier's from a vendor side, in person or virtual it would have to be, you kind of devote one way or the other, because I think it would be really hard to have hybrid or virtual suppliers that are getting too much traction from a hybrid event, because your in-person people aren't going to go find a computer and log into the suppliers, and then, the other people, the focus is also on the in-person too. And so there's not the putting on the show isn't going to focus that much on those suppliers. So I think from a supplier perspective, I would rather do one or the other. I think hybrid will be hard. Now, again, maybe we come up with some really creative way to make it work. But it seems like that's going to be even harder than the virtual. And most of the virtual conferences have not stacked up on the supplier side, I think.
So I want to clarify that Joss's is using the same platform that CCRVC used, and some of those similar vendor access things like the speed networking and stuff like that is being employed there. Is that correct, Joss?
Yes, we are going to have the speed dating, and we are going to have the booth. The difference that we're going to do is, as I said, we're going to take the messaging that you've got, and we're going to rebroadcast that messaging through our supplier updates and rebroadcast it throughout the year. I think that's the advantage there. I hear what you're saying, Joe, and it's really good advice, because we haven't got a hybrid yet. We've got 100% virtual.
Right.
And so what you're sort of suggesting is that when we move to that hybrid model next year, that we would have an on-the-ground trade show, which would really be the only component that we'd have for those people that are there. But we could amplify that by broadcasting it out to those people that can't attend as well. I don't know how we're going to do it, but
well, so here's the thing, right? Like, I don't want to dive too far into hybrids because we got to cover Lori and Joss's educational content and all the things you have going on and stuff like that. But I do think that probably the best way to make it work is some kind of camera in every booth, like a little webcam in somebody's booth with their laptop and a speaker, and then you're live. You can. If somebody comes up to your booth, you can talk to them. If somebody comes up to the virtual, you have a live stream where you can talk to them through your mic and your camera. And so you just, whoever's staffing the booth in person, one person can turn to virtual if somebody's there, and then across the table and whatever. So I think that's how hybrid has to work, is so you don't have to be two places at once.
Yeah.
But,
no, it's fascinating. I really think there's so much benefit to, like Joss said, really generating and harnessing that content to use as a really valuable tool throughout the year outside of just the event. I think, well, I know CCRVC's conference content has provided tons of benefit to our members throughout the year since January when it happened live. So, we've got new members join who maybe didn't have access or know about the conference at all, who were able to consume that content, and prior members and conference attendees are able to go back and re-review stuff, and all of those things are incredible benefits that you just don't get from an in-person event. So it's interesting to see the appetite from the conference attendees for in-person versus virtual. We did some survey work after our event and had a really split, like I think it was 51% to 49% who were supportive of in-person versus virtual. So I think that type of data is really valuable to assess and acknowledge that a hybrid event is probably your best bet for kind of appeasing the biggest section of that group, right?
Right.
So, Joss, tell us about some of the educational contents we can expect from your conference.
Well, we've actually made it a little bit longer than we normally would. We start on the 19th, and we've been very lucky in securing Toby O'Rourke, President CEO of Campgrounds Canada, KOA, Campgrounds of America, to open
we can just change your name. I'll send her an email and let her know. We just swap that out for
Let
her.
her know.
to open it and talk about the trends. But really what we tried to do is run two streams throughout it so that there is always a choice. So we've gone out to some different people that we ordinarily wouldn't have had. We've invited government people, Parks Canada and BC Parks, to talk a little bit about what they're doing in camping, both from the point of view of pricing and developing parks, accessibility, that area. But we've also gone to the other end of the spectrum and looked at glamping and alternative profit centers, in particular static RVs, yurts, and we have Heather, I never get her surname right, so one of you might have to help me. I'm not going to butcher it.
Blankenship?
And JJ Blanchet coming from Crystal Cove Beach Resort, talking about that. We also have our annual general meeting, which we changed just to 30 minutes, and we have a provincial update from Shane Devonish from the Canadian Camping and RV Council, and then we also have Walt Judas coming from Tourism Industry Association of BC, talk about some of the recovery issues that we're facing here in the tourism industry in British Columbia, which won't be unique to British Columbia. There'll be something that faces as we move forward. And we've got networking lounges, and we've got Cracker Barrels as well. Talking about some of the issues that my members are asking me about, because British Columbia is so large, is, Wi-Fi. How do we make it a utility? That's an issue that really is big on many people's mind, and I'm sure it'll falls in with Joe. I mean, with connectivity being a really important part of having to have an app, and that you need to be connected to be able to access those apps. We do have a presentation on apps, so they're convenient and affordable. And I didn't invite Joe. Sorry, Joe. Invited a local so he is a member, John Barber, to talk about it. But and then we got exciting. This year we launched in British Columbia the Campus Code. We launched it in June. It's 9 messages to try and change people's behavior. We've noticed in British Columbia this year there's been a real disrespect amongst people. Bad behaviors are really prevalent in campgrounds, walking through sites, drinking late, talking to people, being pushy. It's really changed the attitude of people. They thought it was post COVID after wave 3 and got euphoric, and now that euphoria has come into a pushback against having to be locked down a little bit more. So hoping to have a good session on which reservation software is best for people, because a lot of people have made that switch from being paper or their own system to an online system because they've had to go touchless because of COVID. So and now they're shopping for different systems. They bought a system, they don't like their current system, and they want to change their system. And which one do they change it to? Do they make the same mistake? I align it to when we had the franchise system, whereby with hotels, when they would just jump from one franchise to the next franchise. And we're going to have things like setting your rates, a panel of full-time RVers, and then we're going to be into the social media as well. We're going to have, Brian doing his Google, Facebook research insights. And I think this is really important and key for people to be able to understand that social media does have benefits for them, as well as the other side of it. Social media has a pushback. And we're going to be handling that in our cancellation policies. We've seen a lot of people this year that are really upset with having to cancel and having to pay a cancellation policy. And they've taken to negotiating through social media and pushing back against campgrounds. And so we're sort of having a big discussion about that too. So I haven't touched on everything, Brian. I don't want to monopolize the conversation. But we do wrap up with a keynote presentation from the new CEO, Richard Porges, of Destination British Columbia, who's going to talk a bit about what Destination BC, which is the marketing agency for British Columbia, how they are going to push forward with the recovery as we welcome Europeans back and as we welcome Americans back in larger numbers. And also as Canadians themselves start to explore outside of their border, it's going to change the mix of campus and RVs that we've got.
Sounds like a really good lineup.
Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive.
So exciting. Can't wait.
So I want to flip here just for a second, and we'll get back to Josh talking about some of that. But I want to flip to Lori here, who's bringing us a brand new, never before seen thing in the industry, which I feel like is cool. I like change, right? I mean, I used to eat at Arby's a long time ago, and different is good. So, like, we've had kind of the same thing over and over again. So tell us, like, before you talk about what we've got in December, Lori, how did this whole idea come about, and why do you feel it's necessary?
Well, you know what, we actually, this is a sort of an idea that I've had for a long time. And unfortunately, it's not just mine. We have, as trainers, a lot of us have done things where we do behind the scenes tours and that type of thing with some of the people in the industry, if you will, especially in the entertainment industry. And we've for, I guess I'm kind of trying to tap dance around the name here, but one of the majors does a lot of industry back of the house kind of training. And that's really what this is really about. Branson always has been kind of a pet project of mine because they are an interesting community. I mean, they very much are like campgrounds in the fact that they have worked with their members and their in their town and came together and they've just really done some amazing things in that community. The families are all very unique. So each one of them kind of start their business, and some of them have been in business 100 years. So it's pretty fabulous. They started out in campgrounds, and it's fun to see how they fill the seats, how they bring people into the town, how they kind of get people to come together. And to me, I always feel like if you don't expand and learn from other industries, at some point you really kind of go through everything that has sort of been done for a while, right? So this is totally different. It'll be going and talking to people who have literally been in business for 100 years with their family members and have started out performing in campgrounds, and will tell you how they've sort of progressed, what they do for ancillary income, how each family member, participates, and some of those kinds of things. So it should be fun, exciting, and totally different.
Yeah, Branson is fascinating to me. Like, I've been there a couple times. My sister actually does now. She moved and then moved back. She lives in Springfield, Missouri, so about an hour up the road from Branson. And but we used to do back when Ralph Newell owned Branson KOA. We used to do some marketing for him, and we just loved, like, we went around and did some videos of him of the local theaters and dinners and attractions where he stood there and interviewed the people and talked to them about their stories. And you're right, like, it's fascinating how some of these people have come up and just built these unique small businesses that are in Branson and you can't find anywhere else.
And it's so cool how they all work together. That's the thing that is so amazing to me. I mean, when we came and talked to them, they would say they were actually like all competitors in the room for where we were going to go or what we were going to do. And yet they all spoke so highly of each other and just said, it's really just about the experience and what you're looking for and that kind of thing. And that to me was super cool too, that they would, do that they all kind of helped each other, if you will. And I think that's, half the battle, right?
Well, yeah, and that's interesting. Right? We've talked about this on the show before about partnerships, and I think the outdoor hospitality, all of you will probably agree is unique in that a lot of the campgrounds who are nearby each other work together and have a great relationship, and so I think that's super valuable and super, like, it ties in very well with the theme of the outdoor hospitality industry, talking to a similar industry who does that and does it well. So is that the only educational content that you have?
No, we'll actually have several of the other things that will kind of filter in with that. We'll go from cornfield to campground and do the many of the normal kind of little soft skill campground stuff. We'll do a little data stuff and that type of thing. But the big push is really, and the way it's going to really be different is getting both the suppliers and the campgrounds together to be able to go and visit these actual places, go behind the scenes, get information from people who have been running their businesses for hundreds of years and have went through some extreme changes and challenges, just like all of us do. So I think being able to ask the questions and the answers, and then being able to come back and say, all right, guys, how do we actually take some of this information and transform it into our business? Because some folks have trouble with the transformation, and others it's really simple and easy for, So I think it'll be fun to just chat about it all together. It'll be a neat opportunity to talk to some of the vendors one-on-one. I think you're willing to buy from somebody that right? And so the more you can get to know them personally and professionally, I think the better off you are.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
What do you think of this, Joe, just from your perspective, what Lori said so far? I know you're attending, so.
Well, I obviously wanted to go so bad that I registered and paid twice.
We almost kept the money. I'm not going to
lie. Well, for me, it's, personally, it's great because I'm just west of St. Louis. So it's kind of a hop, skip, and a jump for me in comparison to the other shows that we go to. But yeah, it's exciting to try to get so many of the states into one area for a lot of different reasons. Some of the shows, some of the state shows, especially in the Midwest, are a little smaller, or they don't even have them. They don't have shows or expos. And so it's really going to allow them, some of those states, to get to something, see something new, as Lori said, and not have to travel so far. All of the, the national shows are typically on one side or the other, most on the East Coast. And so, it'll allow them to get there without having to fly or anything like that. I'm happy that Lori kind of explained why it was going to be in Branson, because at first I was confused. It's a great town to have things in. There's tons of hotels. There's tons of things, except flights. It's hard to fly there. But then explaining that it's to meet with the performers. So I don't think anyone ever gave just a rundown of what Branson is for the people that don't know. Branson is a little town in Missouri that has a bunch of performing musicians and shows that just over time has built up to become this kind of huge area. I think some people call it Vegas in the Midwest, even though
right.
But it's just become this real tourist attraction, and there's, I don't know, probably 50 theaters that are running year long. We're going to be there right before Christmas, which is another time they shine because the entire place is decked out in Christmas lights.
It's November, like the middle of October, I remember, like a long time. They're decked out in Christmas lights.
Yeah, so my wife
Christmas
actually went to
capital.
college there. And so she used to work at these places, Big Cedar Lodge, and some of these huge places that are in Branson. So it'll be great. I think it'll be really nice to see and learn from some of these other businesses too.
Yeah, what an opportunity.
Oh, I'm sorry. Joel makes a great point. The one of the big issues is for a lot of the smaller states, they really don't have a great place to go, and it makes it a little bit easier if you can kind of, be a little more central and it's close enough to drive and some of those kinds of things. I think that really will make a difference for some of those folks, even just, getting them together and starting to form relationships so that they can maybe form a stronger organization in their state, that kind of thing. I think it's going to help.
Amazing.
I think this is something that's clearly been missing from the industry in a couple different ways, but one from a vendor perspective, right? Because I am a vendor, Joe's a vendor, those kinds of things. Like what you're talking about, getting the people together outside of the expo, the trade show booth, is something that we tried to do with CCRVC in our virtual events, and we'll try to do with the hybrid events from a CampCon perspective as we plan going forward. But that relationship building is super critical. That's why Joe and I hang out at the bars after the conferences, right? Because I get more business from the bar than I do from a trade show booth, almost always.
Yeah,
Brian's not there to hang out with me.
He's out there working and talking to people.
So, but I think that's a fascinating thing, and I hope I can attend your show. The only reason I haven't registered yet, Lori, is because I'm in Canada and I'm unsure about my work permit status, and we're building a company up here in Canada. So I just don't know if I can get back and forth with all the restrictions.
Make it work, right? Yeah.
So if I'm issued that and it works, then I will definitely be at your show. I really hope I can come. So.
Absolutely.
Me too. I think it'll be great. It is exciting. It's a first time thing. We'll give it a whirl and see how it goes. So far, so good. I mean, we've had just nothing but great comments and a lot of excitement. So I think one of the theaters that we're going to go to is the Presleys, and they have literally been doing business with each other forever. And it's amazing to see how the children are raised in the business. And, any of us that have had a campground for any period of time knows that when you raise your kids in the campground, it's just a whole different experience, and so I think it's the same thing in showbiz. They've had to do all kinds of things to help mom and dad's business. So it's kind of cool.
Imagine the peer pressure being one of those kids, right? Like your family's done it for 110 years and like, I don't know if I want to go into the business. Maybe I do, maybe I don't, but you're going to break 100-year tradition if you fail your family. So
right.
I wouldn't want to be
I cannot imagine. I would have to, Brian, be one of the little pecan makers or something, because I can't sing a note. So I would be big in trouble. I would have to do something, have to find some other skill. But that's the kind of cool thing. If you listen to some of the stories, how they kind of went off, explored other businesses, did other things, and then decided, this is where my heart is. This is where I'm happiest, that type of thing. So that was one of the questions that I had Brian too for him, is like, what if they don't want to be, part of that business or whatever? But they really do a good job exploring that with them. Well, so it's pretty cool.
Hopefully Carla's paid them off to get you on stage while everyone's there.
Yeah, she would have to pay a lot. That would be pretty difficult. That is one thing for sure that I know. Everybody has their skills. Mine is not singing. I know that for sure.
Make the cons.
Yeah. I can't even lip sync.
So, Lori, if you're willing to share with us real quick, how has registration/vendor signs up been so far, since it's
really good? We're very, very excited about it. And many of the people are really step it up to make this a fabulous show, not just a okay show, but a real fabulous show. Commercial Rec is one of our big sponsors, and they're actually going to put a beach out instead of a booth. It'll be like a beach area. Yeah, so it'll be really cool. So some of the major sponsors will be serving the beverages, Brian, that you and Joe get together at the bar to get. So we'll be doing that. So they'll be serving beverages, and it'll be kind of an atmosphere where it's just a lot more conducive to networking and chatting and having discussions and that type of thing than necessarily your solid, okay, this is my 10 by 10 little space here. And that is the beauty of this location. There is just like endless space. I'm so excited about that because many of our shows, we've been really confined at the amount of space that we have. But here, it's just like huge amounts of space. I've told many of my state people that, hey, you can have a meeting in any one of the rooms because there's plenty of space. So that's exciting.
I wish it was summer. Like, we should have a couple classes on the duck boats that go in Branson.
Yeah, there you go.
Not in Branson.
Yeah.
Not in Branson. Too soon, Brian.
Yeah, well, I know the story, but it's not. Anyway, Joe, don't get negative here, Joe. Only good things happen in Branson. So, but yeah, that sounds like a really good show. I hope I can attend. So, like, I'm curious, how do you, maybe you want to touch briefly on some of the other educational sessions you have, Lori. I don't know if you want to do or not, but I'm curious, like, Josh and Lori, if you want to just kind of comment on this interchangeably, how do you decide? Obviously, there's member feedback, polls, things like that. But how do you decide what sessions to have, what years, at what conferences, and why?
Well, I could start if you want, Josh. I think one of the things is, there's sort of a set of things that members struggle with, and we hear about them all year. What are all the things that are their struggles? So you try to fix their pain points, any way that you can. Try to figure out, okay, what sessions would really help them. And I always look at, what are the things that can help them make money, solve a problem, get ahead. Keep motivated, because I think that's a big thing, especially, during the 4th of July, that type of thing. So that's kind of how we look at, okay, what kind of sessions should we have?
Mm-hmm.
Josh?
Very similar to that. I mean, we look at the turnover rate, how many new people are coming into the industry and how many people are exiting. As an add-on to that, we also take a look at what trends are sort of over the horizon. So what we're going to see in 22, 23, 24, and moving towards the end of a decade, we sort of approach it from that point of view. Very similar to Laurie too. We do the topical ones. I mentioned the cancellation policies have been really up on it. The behavior of people has really been an issue that we picked up on the last 2 years. And then the other one is a shortage of employees, which we can see some of the trends there that you need to do. I think there's another trend that's happening too. For the renewal on our board, this is the first year we haven't had any issue with actually attracting directors.
Yeah.
And, so there's been a real change, and those people that are coming are younger, and they're more used to being online and more used to social and more. So it's a different type of networking. We've got a switch on our board which is happening at this AGM. That's why I'm talking about it. For the first time, we'll have more ladies than men.
Wow.
So it's a major shift. And so we're seeing a real change in behavior of people, and the younger people. I mean, when I mean younger, they're fit. Most of them are less than 50 years of age. Mm-hmm. So I mean, so it's really exciting to see this renewal and this change. And I think that's why we're sort of looking at going hybrid and going that way, because people in British Columbia, it's the same as other places in Canada, it's so sparse, so tough to get together. But what the virtual does and what online does is it allows people to be connected and to feel connected. But it doesn't do the same thing that Laurie's doing and what Joe has talked about. It doesn't put them in a bar or a room to be able to look you in the eye and to create that networking thing. And it's really strange to me, because I've spoken to lots of members this year. There's a large number of people that don't want to connect with other people that way.
Yeah.
I don't know how you get to these people. They want to consume stuff and they want answers to questions, but they don't want to connect physically with people
In person. Yeah.
I just don't know. So this is the conundrum that we're faced with as we go forward. There'll still be that requirement for connectivity and touching people, but it's an interesting thing. So we're trying to come to grapple with that. How do we change to address that new phenomenon that's coming? And a lot of them are consuming information from their peers through Facebook groups or other types of forums like this one, and may never come to actually an event. And so I think Laurie and I are both in the same business of trying to get people to pony up to the table and say, well, there are learning experiences either in person or virtual, and you need to be able to participate in that. And how do we participate? And that's what we're trying to do when we looked at it as to how do we adapt to this changing environment.
Yeah, I will say, when I was talking earlier about it, I was coming strictly from a vendor perspective. I think hybrid is great for attendees.
Absolutely.
Attendee-wise, there's so many positives to it. You can attend from anywhere.
Absolutely.
So people that can't go and that, that aren't there for the networking, because there's a lot of people that just go. There's people that go and don't even attend a session, right? When they're going to a live show, they're going there for networking and that's it. Some people are just going for the trade show. But a lot of people are trying to get something out of it. And so they can do that from home. It's cheap. A lot of times it's cheaper. They can send 2 or 3 of their staff to it. And then, sometimes the content can be evergreen, depending on the show. They can put it out in newsletters like jobs or 6 months. And so, that's it's a real big positive for attendees. But I was just talking about it straight up from the vendor perspective.
Yeah, and I hear you from the vendor perspective. I mean, you lose that connect, you lose that ability. I mean, and then it becomes much more of a, well, my local representative can drop in and see me at my campground, so I'll do business with my local representative because they're here, even though they may not necessarily be the brand loyalty seems to have changed too. And I was mentioning that with the property management systems, chopping and changing. I mean, and it's become more about price and as well as service, and the relationship part of it is very low.
Yeah,
I think you're so right there. When you say that connection piece, how do you make that happen? Because if we can figure out a way to do both, it's great. The more reminders that you can get for people, the better. I don't know how many times I've had members say, I need that member, the one that's just right on the corner when you turn by the big bar there, or they know right where they are, but they can't remember their name or whatever. And I feel like if we can get everybody on that first name basis, man, that will make a huge difference. So it really is about developing those relationships, and then I think that price just sort of goes away, and teaching people to buy at the show, I think is super important too, because bottom line is, who really puts on the show? The money comes from the vendors. There's no other. You can say whatever you want to say about it, but bottom line, I don't know a trade show that isn't put on by those vendors. They're the ones that make it work, the money work. And none of us can learn anything if we don't have some of that money thing happening.
Right, and there are 2 schools of thinking here. Like one thing I want to address, and then one just go back to what Joss talked about. But with the trade show specifically, like, yes, you as Lori, you as Joss, you as whoever's organizing these trade shows can do, should be doing these things that we're not seeing done enough, facilitating the relationships and all those kinds of things that we talked about. But some of it's on the vendor side too.
Sure.
Like, you have to be a vendor who wants to develop those relationships and not just be focused on price too. So a lot of it's on us.
It's very symbiotic relationship. I think you can't, as a vendor, I don't think you can sign up and pay the bill and then sit at your table and wait for the people to come to you, right? That proactivity really ends up being what sets vendors apart from the rest of the trade show participants. So I think that stuff is vital. It takes team effort for sure.
And Cara, before I forget, like going back to what Josh said about more women being on his board than not, I feel like this is a show that we need to plan for the future, talking about women
Yeah.
and the
Great idea.
campground
Yeah.
industry as a whole.
Would love to.
Because Josh, like, I'll pay double for supplier memberships because I feel like I don't want to stereotype the whole male industry, but if women are leading it, it's probably going to be better. Let's just be honest.
Agreed. Totally.
Well, so we're traveling around to customers and some non-customers. We've been to 10 campgrounds so far, and it's probably about 50-50 in terms of being ran by a man or a woman the campground industries for the ones that we've been going to.
Yep.
So I'm sure there's getting to be a lot more influence in the boards and stuff like that.
Amazing to hear.
All right. Well, Darryle, did you have a
Yes.
chance to pull up anything about some of these other shows, and maybe we can just kind of comment on them? We tried to have a few more guests on the show. I emailed Don Bennett from Coney. He didn't get back to me. It was admittedly super short notice. I invited him on Monday because I was on vacation and forgot. But do we have anything pulled up from Coney or Pennsylvania show
Yes,
or some of the other things that are
course.
coming up, Darryle? Put you on the
Well,
spot.
Yeah, I have 3. I have the New York show happening in Niagara Falls on October 31st to November 3.
Do we have a website we can share and
Of
let people
course,
follow
of
along?
course.
Or?
Let's see if I can do that right now.
There you go.
Okay.
Donnie puts on a great show too. They are fun in New York.
Yeah. All right. So this is the 57th exposition for the Outdoor Hospitality Industry and Trade Show. That is a mouthful. All right. It's happening on October 31st, 2021, up to Wednesday, November 3, 2021. So
coming
if you
up
could
here
take a
pretty
look
quick.
and see. Yeah.
Do we know, like, and well, I want to go through this with you, Darryle, but do we know, Lori, or maybe you know, I just don't know because I'm not attending all these trade shows, but are any of these overlapping each other? Because that used to be a big problem before, right? You had to choose.
You know, I know when we were looking for our show, that was something that we really wanted to make sure didn't happen.
Right.
So we were careful not to be over either New York, ARVC, KOA, Jellystone, any of those. That's why we are the December show, that and Christmas, but yeah, I think that is an important thing. At camp, the campground professionals, we work really hard to make sure that doesn't happen within our states because it is difficult for the vendors. So we want to try to make sure that we're not overlapping.
You bet.
Yeah, I believe, Brian, one of the main overlaps, I believe this year they modified it so that they were not going to overlap this year.
Oh, cool.
So I think
Good. Yeah. I mean, I remember, like, I think 2019 was the first year that nothing overlapped, and then I think some things I think it was just a coincidence, but yeah, it's really nice. Okay, so sorry, Darryle. Let's go through this. I'm going to blow it up here on the screen so we can see a little bit better.
Yes, please. All right. So, well, this is the itinerary that they have on Sunday. Registration and then certified pool operator training. I saw somewhere that you need to bring bring a swimsuit and a towel, so that should be fun.
I wonder, is this like training on how a campground owner how to run their pool, or?
I would assume so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, certain jurisdictions here in Canada have different expectations, but I know here in Alberta, if you have a pool, you have to have a certification as an operator, as a manager. You need to have at least, I think there's even a restriction for how many on site you need to have, or how many on your staff you need to have, kind of obviously whenever the pool's in operation and things like that. So those courses are not cheap, and 40 to 60 hours, I think, and stuff up here. So if you're able to access that kind of certification through your association, that's awesome.
Yeah, some of this looks really cool. Like I'm scrolling down. Let's scroll down just a little bit there. You see they have pool water rescue training.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Like I've never seen that stuff at a conference before. Maybe I just haven't paid attention. I feel like I've been going forever, but it's a unique CPR first aid training.
You're probably one of those guys that goes and never attends a single session.
That's not true. I attend most of all the sessions I can when they let
I
me.
was kidding. Wow. So defensive.
No, I can't take a joke well. You guys know me, so.
Apparently, yeah.
Apparently. I mean, it's hard to miss though. I mean, it's poolside, so unless you didn't really like go.
Hopefully
So,
it's
yeah.
an indoor pool, and
Right.
I feel like it's going to be a little chilly in New York in October. But
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This is November we're talking about here. Come on.
November
well,
1st.
yeah, November 1st.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
all right, what else we got here? We got budgeting for campgrounds, Coney Legal Hotline. That's super cool. Like, Cara, did you ever launch one of those for CCRVC? I thought you were trying to do something like that.
We have something in the works I can't really talk about yet.
Just
But,
reveal it on the show. Nobody's watching, I promise. We'll keep it between
Well,
ourselves.
I will
Why?
reveal it on the show once it's confirmed and in place. But yes, we do have something we're trying to work on specific to that. So you'd be, as our members would be able to access, legal advice via phone from some specific legal reps and stuff, for really great pricing. So that's incredibly
Nice.
valuable. We'll get there.
Lori, do you do anything like that at Waco, or?
We do at Waco, absolutely. We do have the pool school, of course, and then we do have a legal hotline that is very, very much used, especially this
Yeah.
year.
I bet.
Yep, it's great. I think the members really appreciate it. We've had it for about almost 10 years now, and
Wow.
so the attorney that we work with is really very, very familiar with Wisconsin law. So that's amazing, and it's specific to campgrounds. So that's always nice when you have somebody sort of trained in, if you will, because otherwise they can spend a lot of time looking stuff up and figuring things out, and sometimes we figure out the hard way by having a case tried in court, but then we all learn from that. So it's really cool.
Right.
I'll be honest, that's the biggest hurdle for it kind of standing in our way, is finding the right partner who understands our industry specifically and can provide the best support to membership, for sure.
It is really difficult to find that good person, that person that really wants to learn the industry, because it is very different,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, then you see, and there's two pieces to it, right? You see, like on this agenda here for Coney, and I'll just blow it up again real quick, and then we're going to move on to some other conferences. But Christine Taylor here is that industry person in the United States that's really, like, her parents owned a campground, and so kind of as a consequence, I think she kind of found her way here. But really good legal resource. But from what Lori's perspective too, like that local, knowing Wisconsin, knowing Texas, knowing California, knowing Alberta, knowing whatever, like is super valuable and important too. And so that's why it's so important to, like, yes, join your national association, but also join your provincial state associations too. What else we got, Darryle? We got Pennsylvania?
Sure. Yeah, we do. There we go. Let's open their packet because they don't have anything on the side. So there's the packet.
Ooh, let me see if I recognize any of these people in these photos. Do we recognize them?
Sure.
Just kidding. You can move on to the real important things.
All right. That's not really the...
Pennsylvania is celebrating a kind of cool thing. Their executive director is retiring after 38 years in the business.
Holy moly.
It was supposed
wow.
to be like 35 and then 36 and then 37 and then, like, are we sure she's actually leaving, Lori?
Yeah, I know she's actually gone at this point, but they're going to have a little celebration for her, which anybody that knows her, she just brings such a wealth of information with her, and she's such a great person and so willing to share. That really is.
I love.
Pretty
You're talking about Bev, right? So
yes, Bev.
Yeah. Bev Gerber. So yeah, definitely a huge, loss for the industry, but celebration of all the things that she's given over those 38 years is
It is really cool. And the cool thing is that her and Jason, the current executive director of Pennsylvania, have worked together for so many years that they're not missing anything. And that's really the great part. That says you did a great job with your exit strategy.
Yeah, Jason's a good guy to take over. I'm looking forward to what he can do for that associate, or is doing, but will
is
continue.
doing. Yep.
Darryle, can you hit that plus button next to the 100%? Just zoom in just a little bit for us to see. Up at the top there. There we go. Okay, there we go. Perfect. All right, so what do we got here? Let's see. Ooh, a get caught up party. That's the most important part of the agenda right there. We basically have to do 2 years worth of COVID drinking at Legends Club. Yeah, so.
True.
Do we have one of those at your place, Lori? Like a get caught up party?
We certainly could add it into that. I'm sure that we could. There's still time and there's plenty of room.
I feel like attendance would double with a get caught up party.
The whole thing is a get caught up party.
Pretty much. For Lori's event, it's a whole
it's just a celebration party. Sounds like
with singing and dancing. So
exactly.
So dinner and the show.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm seeing things like cybersecurity, 21st century travelers, that kind of stuff is I think important to be addressing right now as the market. Right. We're seeing so much shift. Pesticide training. Well, if that's not a real necessity, that sounds super exciting.
And that's one of those things in Pennsylvania that's a mandatory thing for them.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful that they offer that at their convention.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a meeting the needs of the 22nd century travelers.
Can we just not rush it?
Well, I'm just saying, it would be cool to speculate on what's going to happen. We could have that little Martian from Looney Tunes teach it.
I feel like
Marvin.
the whole problem with that is the speculation. The speculation aspect is the problem.
Well, you got to be prepared. We're going to have camping on Mars. The first glamping place on Mars, you're going to be able to charge a premium for that.
Oh,
yeah, only the billionaires get to go.
I know. That's what I'm saying. So you should be the first one with a license. So anyway, let's keep scrolling down here. What do we got?
Okay. Let's see. Hey, farewell party for Beverly Gruber. There it is.
Oh, wow.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, I better be able to go to that. That's going to be disco ball, dancing, strobe lights. I can imagine that's pretty hip still, even at her age. So
Beverly actually has a skill. She plays a wonderful, unique instrument. I can't even tell you what it is, but it's very, very cool. And it's kind of a one-man band kind of thing. It's really cool.
Really?
Will she play it for us at the farewell party?
Oh, I bet she would. If you ask her, I'm certain she would. She grew up in the fair association industry. So she's worked with the fairs forever. So she has a very, very colorful and fun background.
Very cool.
Absolutely.
And then we got a lot of other cool things here. Destination optimization. I don't know Kim Palmer, but I'm sure she's very qualified to teach that. Millennial campers.
Right.
Christine Taylor again.
Should we tell? Somebody should email Jason and tell him millennial spelled wrong. But good thing we're not pointing that out live on the show. Rachel's a very good teacher from Advanced Outdoor Solutions, though. Kelly Jones, I think she used to be with Jellystone for a number of years, and she's with, I'm trying to remember the name of I can't remember the name of the firm she works for now. Jenkins organization. Yeah, they own a bunch of campgrounds and stuff like that. So Christine Taylor's all over the place.
Yep.
Everywhere, and Patrick Hardy doing a number of sessions. So yeah, it looks like a really good lineup that they got going on here. So
absolutely.
What else do we have, Darryle? Do we have ARVC or Jellystone? Do we find any of that stuff?
Yes, we do have both. Let me take
both.
There we go. ARVC. Yay. November 18 to 11. No, November 8 to 11, 2021. At the Raleigh Convention Center.
So it doesn't overlap anything yet, so that's good.
It doesn't, not yet.
It does overlap the RVDA's convention in Vegas, actually. It's the same dates.
That's tough. I'm not really in the RVDA. That's not we should be now with Modern Campground covering the RV industry. But Las Vegas,
it's a fun event every year.
Yeah.
So
all the things should either be in Las Vegas or Branson.
Agreed.
Yep.
Even Joss's next live show.
Even Joss's show too. Yep.
Yep. Well, we did want to have it on a cruise ship, but
oh wow!
What happened with that?
We never got. The thing should be all of North America gets together and we'll go on a cruise ship and we share.
Yeah,
that'd be amazing.
Next year we got to do that.
I think Florida actually did that once.
Because here's the thing, Joss, like you can have that on the cruise ship now and do a hybrid and everyone can attend. So even if only 25 people show up to party for a week on a cruise ship, everybody else can come and live vicariously through us.
But if it was wide, it would you'd fill the cruise ship, and and you could do the West Coast one year and the East Coast the next year.
Yep. Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm on board for that. So, do we have a little schedule here that we were able to find, Darryle? Or
yes, schedule of events. There we go. And here we are.
All right, so we've got, what do we got here?
There we go.
Opening and recession, the future is now. Chief Innovation Officer from Thor, financing. Stop, if anybody wants to comment on any of this stuff, please stop Darryle.
Where do they do the takeaway tours? Do they say in advance?
I think they did. Is it up there?
Yep, it's higher up there.
Scroll up a little bit, Darryle.
Right there.
Click on more and see if we can find out. It does require separate registration, but I know I've seen them post about some of the. Oh, there's no more?
Nothing yet. Okay, I'll keep my eyes out for that.
Fort Parks, huh?
4 parks to learn from your years. Okay, cool. So hopefully we'll learn more about that stuff.
As it progresses.
Yeah, keep scrolling if we want to. If there's anything you guys want to jump in and talk about. Preparing parks for disasters.
Yeah,
that's
I know.
a broad topic, right?
Hopefully
zombies will be covered in there because that's coming eventually for sure.
And aliens, I'm pretty sure.
One day, hundreds of years, maybe, but it's coming. Like it's inevitable.
There we go. Don't ignore your other disaster plans. Okay.
I mean, maybe the aliens thing is questionable, but zombies is definitely coming. Okay, scroll down. What we got
zombies over aliens? Are you serious?
No, I'm not serious. Of course I'm not. We got to have a little commentary on the show that makes it fun. But this is something new that ARVC's offering too, and I'm interested to see how this ends up working out. Like they've got these master classes that I think are in a separate location. Other than the regular sessions, and I don't know why they chose to do that, but it's interesting to see how these take off too.
Why it's my fault. Understanding mindset and leadership. This is some big stuff here. I know of people who should take this course.
Probably me. I should probably take that course.
Yeah, you're on the list. Yeah.
I better be at the top of the list. So.
Yeah. I don't know. The top. Close.
It's a massive agenda anyway that they've got here. I mean, they're touching on a few things that are really important. Like they have a session on insurance, which really is a buzz
real shifting game. Yeah, right now. You bet.
Go ahead. Keep scrolling, Darryle.
All right.
Got some breakouts, ADA. I feel like everybody's forgot about ADA. Like COVID came and we were all talking about ADA like it was the most important thing in the world, and then COVID hit.
Well, I think you'll see those expectations for ADA shift and adopt a lot of the kind of COVID expectations too. So I think they'll eventually kind of be married together. But in the meantime, it's good they're still talking about it. It's incredibly valuable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So we got local marketing mastery, shocking electric bills. That's a cool session name.
Love that.
Yeah, I know. That was pretty good.
That's a great name.
Working with the family business. I like it. Mm-hmm. Simple things to enhance your business. New guests. Really great. Employee handbook. Yeah.
Lots of sessions.
That's a good session, enhancing the guest experience the Disney way. The Carolinas Association had that guy, and I saw him probably 2018, 2019, something like that at their conference. Yeah. That guy teaches a really good session on guest experience. He used to work for Disney.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Cross-cultural understanding. Oh, there's a spelling mistake. We got to email ARVC, so we found one. We're not just picking on Jason now. Cross-cultural understanding. Sorry, ARVC. We're just helping uncover all kinds of helpful things here. So, insurance jeopardy. Ooh.
Yep, like it.
Best marketing ideas looks good.
Best marketing ideas, yeah. So much content. I mean, it's incredibly valuable. So, how much is it to go to this? How much is this going to cost me?
Darryle, we can't point out more than one spelling mistake at once.
I wasn't saying anything.
Come on. You highlighted blue.
The
I saw it.
editor-in-chief is showing. Your editor-in-chief is showing.
I know,
It's
my
not, yeah, it's not
editor-in-chief.
Darryl's fault. He does proofreading all day. So, but yeah, how much is it to attend this ARVC show?
Good question. Let's take a look and see. All right, 1 minute.
Probably have to back out of the agenda. Yeah, let's see. Space is limited. Register. Oh, just click the register now and see if it's there.
Well, one thing that was just passed over is people, some owners can get it for free by becoming a registered, a hosted buyer. And so they, in exchange for their attendance, they schedule meetings with specific vendors to get a demo of their product.
Cool. Okay. I like this.
It says $495 for single registration.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
And $460 if you're for the group, if you're members, multi-person registrations.
Okay. Cool.
Well,
And they've got a tour. Oh, you've got it up there now.
yes.
$495, $995 for non-members, multi-person registration. Oh, that's cool that they have a multi-person registration now.
Mm-hmm.
Some add-on experiences, all that kind of stuff. Cool. So, POW will no longer feature a takeaway tour due to logistical challenges, but that's okay. POW is valuable in and of itself and by itself. So, I've spoken at a couple of those. So, okay. Is there anything else, Darryle? Are we missing, or we're already over an hour? Wow, look at that. So, time flies.
There we go.
Let's
That's the last
super quick scroll through Jellystone because I'm sure we all have stuff to do. But Jellystone's a really good convention. I was there, I think, for the first or second time in 2019. But keynote speaker, just keep scrolling. Lunch, pictures, awards, dinner presentation. They do a really good job with their entertainment and the awards presentation. They have a lot of fun. Like the ballrooms are really. I remember when I went there. I think it was 2019 or 2018, whatever. The first time I was there, like I didn't bring a tux with me, and so like they have like everybody dressed up, and it's one of the dinner award presentations. Everybody dresses up in a tux. So I had like a nice shirt and pants on, but like I was super underdressed and embarrassed because everybody literally had a tux on. Not a suit, like a tux. I don't own a tux because I lost weight. Like I'm healthy over here, okay? It's not my fault.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm noticing the dates for this overlap with ARVC's dates as well. So, you know, that is tough for operators who want to access more content, especially, I suppose this is virtual or in person only, correct?
It's in person, yeah.
And ARVC's. So yeah, that does make it complicated to consume that content. Again, another great benefit to doing virtual is that ability to watch stuff back later and be able to consume
a lot
more. Yeah. Accessibility.
Agreed.
I mean, overall, I think what we've discovered here is that we've got a lot of great educational content because it's coming up, a lot of great trade shows, a lot of great different agendas. People are tackling things that are state-specific, national, and from a multitude of angles, hybrid, non-hybrid, virtual, non-virtual. And so I'm really excited to see some of this stuff come together, but particularly, obviously, we've got Joss and Lori on here. So Joss is BCLCA, and I'm really excited to see what 2022 brings with that, with a hybrid event, and how maybe we could set the example, kind of a standard for the industry with how that should work and how that should work well. And then of course Lori's like brand new, different is good. Will we have Arby's
really
there?
Exciting.
Is there an Arby's in Branson? I feel like we should find out.
There is.
Oh, there we go.
You're all right.
All right for burgers.
And you're all invited. Come on down.
Yeah, it sounds amazing.
Well, we've been spreading the word on our travels, Lori. I actually just talked to the owner of this establishment yesterday about possibly going.
Wow.
Awesome. Cross promotion.
Very cool. Well, does anybody have anything to add before I wrap up the show? Do we have any final parting words?
I just want to say good luck to you guys on these events. I think they bring so much value to memberships and campground owners and the industry as a whole. I really, think that you deserve a lot of commendation. It's a ton of work, I really appreciate all the effort and the innovation doing this new stuff to really address how things are shifting in the world. I'm excited to attend every show I can.
There you go.
And you bring up a good point too that people often overlook, right? How much work is involved with these shows? Like it's not just I put up a page on a website and email some people and they're going to speak, right? And so really, really appreciate all the things that all of the executive directors are doing, and the board members and the people who put together these conferences and the vendors who are attending, but just the amount of work that's involved, especially to pivot and create new things, which both Joss and Lori are doing. Yeah, really excited to see how this changes our industry. So thank you guys for watching another episode of MC Fireside Chats. I really appreciate you guys being here. Next week, Cara, on the spot. Are you ready? What are we doing? Open discussion.
Next week is news. Open discussion.
Open discussion, yeah.
A big group of great guests to join us to talk about all kinds of current events, industry stuff. We just wing it the first week of the month to talk about what's happening.
This is going to be fascinating, though, next week. Darryl's working on a press release for us. It's kind of secret, but we're going to have the same total of 10 people on for the first Wednesday of every month going forward. Me, you, Darryl, obviously, but we've got 7 other really cool people from the industry that are CEOs and executives, and they're going to join us to comment on this stuff. And so we'll be announcing that, and that's their first week. So, but remember, you can listen to us as a podcast. We're available on Apple, Spotify, all those kinds of places. If you missed the show or missed part of it, you can catch us on mcfiresidechats.com. Really appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having
Thanks for watching this episode of MC Fireside Chats, hosted by Brian Searl and Cara Csizmadia. Have a suggestion for a future show or want to see your campground or company as part of an episode? Email us at hello@moderncampground.com. Join us next week for another episode. And don't miss the latest outdoor hospitality news and commentary from around the world at moderncampground.com.